Test. There we go. A lot of you probably didn't want to hear from me anyway, did you? You must watch the morning show. No, I'm kidding. Hey, good to have you here. I can't think of a better way to spend a Flag Day in America than right here at this park, at this time, at this memorial, with all of you here on Flag Day of 2019. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial Board, we welcome you to our yearly ceremony in which we give honor and the respect that's due to our flag and honor those who have also served our nation so proudly. At this time, will you please stand, if you're able, for the presentation of colors and the playing of the Republic of Korea National Anthem and the Star-Spangled Banner. As you show your respect for the anthem of both countries, men who are not veterans should remove their hats. Please place your hand over your heart, and veterans may render a military salute. The color guard will first present the colors. First, the Republic of Korea National Anthem. And now, the national anthem of the United States of America, the Star-Spangled Banner. Please stay standing. Joining us on stage today are a group of school children who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Executive Order number 9981, issued by President Harry S. Truman in 1948, mandated the integration of the United States Armed Forces, and thus the Korean War was the first American conflict in which the troops were not segregated by race. We felt that having children of different ethnicities lead the audience in the Pledge of Allegiance would be a fitting tribute to President Truman, to our Korean War veterans, and to the Korean people.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you to the Children of the Flag directors Linda Sharp and Lois Ward for helping them out there and directing that. Captain Ron Brooks of the U.S. Navy, retired, will now give our invocation.
Pray with me, if you will. God in heaven and Lord of creation, we gather today under the canopy of a gray and somber sky, the great dome of heaven, reflecting troubled times in the stormy seas that our nation, indeed our world, faces. We are here to celebrate the red, white, and blue, the flag of our land, the best of what we are, and the symbol of our hope for the future. We are here on the ground dedicated to the memory of veterans who served our country and defended our virtues and values of democracy against godless communism. We are thankful for the fields of corn and the amber waves of grain that surround us and our land. Today, we testify to continuing commitment we have to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not only for ourselves, but for others. And we strongly oppose those who would deny it, dictators and despots, the oligarchs and the monarchs of the world. Be with us as we celebrate these moments together, remembering the past and committing ourselves to the future, continuing to live by the virtues and values, the ethics and morals of our great land. We pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Captain Brooks. The color guard will now retire the colors. You may be seated. Thanks once again to the children and their directors, Lois Ward and Linda Sharp. I want to welcome anyone here who is a public official. I know that former director of the Parks, Mark McHenry, is here. Current director, Terry Reinert, is here. But is there anyone else here who deserves recognition today? Because we do want to honor you as part of our ceremony today. Would you please stand? Thank you. Once again, welcome. I know we got a little rain moving through, but if you were here last year, you know how unbearingly hot it was because of the sun. We had repositioned our seating today to get a little more shade. It wasn't needed, but we're not hot. All right, so look on the bright side. I'm honored to be a part of this. My wife, Leslie, is here in the red over there, and she hates me pointing her out, but she just joined the Parks Division. The reason I want to point her out is because she's the reason I'm here today. Her dad served in the Korean conflict, and he was a great man, and out of respect for him and his desire to serve our nation and do so proudly, I wanted to give back in some way. And I couldn't think of a better way than to use my time and talents that God's given me to help out this great memorial and expand, but also to honor the flag on this historic day here in America. So thank you for having me here. Would also like to ask the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial Board and Advisory Committee to stand so we can honor them and recognize them. Thank you, and we graciously acknowledge the Neighborhood Tourist Development Fund of Kansas City for its help in sponsoring the Flag Day events. We also thank the Kansas City Parks and Rec Department, which is awesome with all their work that they do, partnering in this event. And now at this time, I want to introduce a very special person who's on the committee, but also a friend of mine. 21 years ago, when I moved here with my wife to Kansas City, one of the first things I did was to seek out and join the Rotary Club, downtown Kansas City, Rotary 13. We have some members, Dick's here from Rotary 13 and some others, because I wanted to be a part of a moving, happening club that was doing things to serve. My dad was a Rotarian in Houston. And one of the first persons I met was a short guy that I saw eye to eye with that had a lot of heart, a great laugh, and a lot of good stories. His name was Jim Schultz. He did so much for Kansas City and has left quite a legacy, including a couple of people here on stage today, 3 in fact. Today I wanted to bring up one, chair of Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial, founded by her father, Jim Schultz. Would you please welcome Deborah Schultz?
Thank you, Mark, and good morning. Thank you for being here. Today we're here to pay homage to our flag, Old Glory, the Stars and Stripes. She's flown over our country for 242 years. Oh, thank you. He's the announcer, not me. Our troops have fought with her flying here on American soil since the Revolutionary War to the Civil War. She's flown over many countries the world over as once again our troops have fought to help preserve the freedom we Americans so dearly love. As we fight that freedom with our beloved Stars and Stripes flying overhead, sometimes she's the last thing our young boys and women ever see. When they come marching back home, our troops are no longer the innocent young men or young women who left us, changed forevermore. Our flag is a symbol of freedom and hope for countries invaded by their enemies who want to steal the very inalienable rights America stands for. It is the people of these countries who have fought for the Republic of Korea being one of many who are our allies. It is the people of these countries who, like our beloved American troops, sacrifice as we can never begin to imagine. They might fight as a civilian, they might have fought as a soldier. Ask Young Kim, who is with us here today, then a 12-year-old boy in Seoul, South Korea, on June 25th, 1950, when North Korea invaded his country, when his mother and father and he lived under the floorboards, not in the basement, under the floorboards of their family home for 3 months. We can't even begin to imagine that. His grandparents and his toddler brother actually lived above, with the furniture above them, because if the North Koreans found them, they'd be executed immediately. On September 28th, 1950, when our troops liberated Seoul, my father being one of those, he was a Marine, he came up from under the floorboards, and that's when he fell in love with our flag. Ask 90-year-old Lieutenant Colonel Kim Chul-hee, who fought alongside our troops with the Republic of Korea. Proudly, they too and the people of the Republic of Korea were changed forever by what our beautiful Stars and Stripes stood for. As a result of the sacrifice of America, the United Nations, the Republic of Korea troops, and Korea's people, the Republic of Korea has gone from a third world country to one of the most thriving economies of the world. So today, Flag Day, we join together, veterans of many wars, survivors of many wars, proud and patriotic Americans, to pay homage to our flag. Together, we will retire one flag that is old and worn with all the respect and honor she deserves. For in a small way, we are saying thank you to all who fought for us and who gave us the freedom we have today. May God bless America.
Al Lemieux, would you please join us? At this time, Deborah is proceeding to the Korean Choir. One of their members, Lieutenant Colonel Kim Chul-hee, is a Republic of Korea Army veteran mentioned in her remarks. The Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial and the Kansas City chapter of the Korean War Veterans Association are honoring Colonel Kim today for his service as a Korean War veteran.
It is our pleasure, the committee that has put together this wonderful memorial in honoring over 900 men that did on fighting in Korea. But we would like to present with you just a small token. And this makes you an official member of our Korean War Veterans chapter in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call upon Lieutenant Colonel Tim Ely, who came all the way from Houston, Texas, my hometown, for the dedication of Granite Memorial pavers. The paver sponsors are invited to stand as their paver is read.
Thank you. I have 4 we're going to do today. Excuse me. Okay. A little bit closer. Talk louder. Again, as I read off the names, if you are here, your family is here, or people that knew these individuals, please stand. The first 2 are storekeeper Charles D. McCorkindale and commissary man Robert L. McCorkindale. Their inscription states, U.S. Navy, 1952 to 1957. Korean and Cold War, USS Washburn, aka 108. NSD Yokosuka, Japan. The second one is for Harold F. Brown, 45th Infantry Division, 180th Infantry Regiment, Company H. FDC Outpost, Queen and Sandbag Castle, Korea, 1952 to 1953. God is our refuge and strength. Psalms 46-1. Next is Robert G. Seidelman. Richard G. Seidelman, better known as Dick, Sempra Phi. And the last one is Andrew G. Turner, Major, U.S. Army Medical Corps, Camp Humphreys, Korea, 2017 and 2019.
Thank you very much. Arirang is a Korean folk song, often considered the unofficial national anthem of both North and South Korea. It's estimated that the song is more than 600 years old. This song was performed at the 2018 Olympics. It was seen as a symbol of peace in motion when North and South Korea athletes marched into the Olympic Stadium together. Now, the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial would like to present its Patriot Award after we hear the Korean folk song. Beautiful. I was watching them get a close-up view here, and the passion and the love they have for that song. So thank you so much for bringing that here today. Please welcome back Deborah Schultz.
감사합니다. 감사합니다. That's thank you in Korean. I have a few words. I would like to call to the microphone Terry Reinert, who is the new director of Kansas City Parks and Recreation. She will help me as we, the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial, present our Patriots Award, which we give every year. And this year we are honoring someone who has gone above and beyond for us year after year after year, Mr. Mark McHenry. Mark is the former director of the Kansas City Parks and Recreation. He has been with the Missouri Korean War Memorial long before I was involved. Mark, when did you started with my dad back in 2000?
Yeah, late 90s.
Come on up here, please.
The late 90s, yes it was.
The late 90s.
Yeah.
So long before I was involved, and Mark was right there. And Mark, we want to thank you. The memorial would not be here without you. And of course, the American Eagle is a symbol not only of our beloved United States of America, but Mark, more importantly, you are the wind beneath our wings.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Appreciate it. God bless you. It was a cool day in November when we broke ground for this memorial. It was a rainy day. We actually needed bigger umbrellas and bigger tents that day. It was raining pretty hard, but I do harken back to when that groundbreaking took place, and obviously it's been a great time. And Deborah and I first spoke is that we needed something special every year, and of course Flag Day has been the day we do it. And so you own Flag Day, I believe, at this point. And it's great to have this memorial here in the same park that bears the name of our first president, George Washington. So it's a great anchor here at the park, along with George on his horse over there on the other part of the park. And also I want to acknowledge the park staff. I know Leslie's name was mentioned earlier by Mark, and Heidi Markle and Jesse Frazier on the camera, and Leslie's here. I think I saw Carol Green in the back. Also Melinda's there from our events and planning. Richard Allen I see from our park staff as well, and we're glad they're all here today. Also, just quickly, and I don't want to delay the program too long, a week ago today, actually at the exact same time, I was at the Pentagon. And I was in D.C. and I had a chance to visit. And there's a flag, if you've been to the Pentagon, that hangs on the wall in the Pentagon that has, of course, the red, white, and blue, but also has the photographs of all those that lost their lives as patriots on September 11th of 2001. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Mark. Mark has definitely left a legacy here in Kansas City, and he's a friend, and Terry is building one as well. And now the American Legion Band will now play Medley of the Armed Forces. Veterans, please. Okay. I'm sorry. Now our Unsung Heroes Award. Deborah Schultz welcomes her brother Jim Schultz now.
So this year we have a new award. It's called the Unsung Hero Award. It's exactly what it says it is. It's people who have worked with us and have gone above and beyond year after year after year. And at this time, I'm going to call 3 people to the stage. They don't know that they're getting this award. They've gone above and beyond for us in ways you can't even imagine. I would like to call, and excuse me, I'm going to get a little cracked up here. Would Lewis Cummings, Carol Green, and Al Lemieux please step to the stage? Yeah, you. Where's Carol? Carol, come on up here, please. She's shaking her head. I'm going to talk as they're making their way up here. Lewis and Carol work for Kansas City Parks and Rec, and it's been a big secret when I went to Terry and I said, Terry, we want to honor these two. This is Lou's Park. Yeah, it belongs to Parks and Rec, but this is Lou's Park. Lou's the guy we call when we've got an issue. Lou's the guy that makes sure this whole thing is set up. This stage, this sound system, it's Lou that takes care of it for us year after year. But it's Lou that I call and say, hey, we've got a problem down there. And he's here and he takes care of us. And it's Carol that we sit down with. She works for Heidi Markle and she works for Leslie Alford. And it's Carol that we sit down with and we plan the whole thing out. It's Carol that calls us and says, well, yeah, this is this, what else can we do for you? These two, taking nothing away from Heidi and from Leslie, it's these two that make it work. So, Carol, come here. Come here, let everybody see you, babe. You are our unsung hero. Let's give her a big hand. Lou, come on. He's a little guy. You know, you can't see him. He doesn't stand out very much. He's, they're both behind the lines. Thank you, sir. God bless you. And now I ask my brother, Jim Schultz. Jim is the immediate past chair of the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial. Jim?
Thank you. It I need to raise this just a little bit. You know, the longer that you're on this earth, in my opinion, especially in my own personal experience, the more blessings that we have in our life. You know, parents, family, friends. I was honored a little over 18 years ago to work with my father and this gentleman to my right, who are both obviously Korean War veterans, in the beginning of trying to make this all come to a reality. I'm not taking any credit because my father and Al really did an enormous amount of work in the beginning. We then formed a board, and when my dad started getting ill, he asked me to get involved, and at that point in time, we formed a committee of Korean veterans, and it was one of the biggest honors of my life to work with these gentlemen. And I can tell you that this gentleman standing next to me, I have the utmost respect for, and I love you, Al. Marine Sergeant Al Lemieux. I'd like to present this to you, sir, as an unsung hero.
To all of you out there, thank you for being here on this kind of drippy, rainy day. To the Korean War veterans sitting out there that we served together, to all the men listed on this beautiful memorial that didn't make it home, we owe our thanks to all those guys out there. Thank you, guys. Semper Fi.
And now the American Legion Band will play the Medley of the Armed Forces. Veterans, please stand when your service song is being played.
And now Rear Admiral Jeff Penfield, U.S. Navy retired.
Hey, good morning. I think the Army outnumbers the rest of us. Go figure, right? Hey, thank you all very much. I have the honor this afternoon or this morning to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Dale Carter. But before I do, I just want to thank Deborah. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of all this. This is really kind of a surreal moment, if you will, for me. Really from the end of May, Memorial Day, through the end of June, as I've gotten older, somebody mentioned that earlier, and you count your blessings. These days and weeks from May to June mean everything to me. Memorial Day, the day that our country pays recognition and honor to those that served, that didn't come home. If you're a long-time veteran, when you hear those kind of things, you actually think of individuals that you've known throughout your career, friends of yours that lost their life along the way. You spend a lot of time thinking about those folks. You go a couple weeks later into last week, right, 6th June, we celebrated D-Day. For me, 59 years old, obviously I wasn't around for D-Day, but I learned a lot about it in school. About 3 or 4 years ago at my Uncle Ray's funeral, I discovered that my Uncle Ray was at Normandy on D-Day. So now every June 6th, I think about my uncle, and I thank God that he survived that horrific day. And then next week, 23rd of June, would have been my dad's 91st birthday. And my dad was an Army, Air Force careerist, if you will, born in Ogdensburg, New York. He died about 3 hours south of here at Mano, Missouri. He was a Vietnam-era veteran, and he was a Korean War veteran. And he so much would have liked this ceremony and liked this memorial. And Deborah, thank you for kind of revealing this to me. It's very, very, very special. With that kind of pedigree, I think I was pretty set that I was going to join the Navy, which I did back in 1980. Some of you might remember the old MEPS right over here. Right? They put me on a bus from Wichita and came up here. And I served for 34 years. I retired a couple of years ago. Moved back to the great Midwest. I now live in Blue Springs, where our guest speaker also lives. And I now have dedicated my life to continue serving veterans and their families, and have gotten involved with many different things in the city. And that directly are related to veterans and their families. And I got to tell you that I find it refreshing as I go out and I learn more and more about Kansas City, and I meet more and more people from Kansas City that I think are like-minded with me, that are patriots, that realize what veterans have given all of us. And I find it just simply refreshing to the reception, both from fellow veterans, but there's many, many people in this community, as you all know, that may have never have served, but they get it. They get it. They get the value of service. And our guest speaker this afternoon, Dale, is one of those gentlemen. His bio is in your program. He's a 40-year radio personality, if you will. He's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. But what I drill down on, and that's great, but what I drill down on is his service, the things that he has done to serve his community and serve veterans. So he's been involved with many civic-related things out in Blue Springs. He's been on the Blue Springs City Council for years. He is one of the contributors and one of the folks that brought the Country Cares St. Jude Radiothon here to Kansas City, and has raised millions for that event over the years. Something that I really like what he's doing is for the last 22 years, his Summer of Freedom initiative, raising money to give to veteran-related activities going on here in Kansas City. And oh, by the way, this year's recipient is this memorial. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce you our guest speaker for this morning, Mr. Dale Carter.
I'm a little shorter than the Admiral. Just want to readjust. Is it raining still? Yeah? All right. I think we're okay there. Well, good morning. A couple of housekeeping things to get out of the way here on this Flag Day. First of all, I heard it mentioned behind me, today is the 244th birthday for the United States Army. So congratulations on your birthday to the U.S. Army. It was on this day in 1777 that the Second Continental Congress adopted the Betsy Ross design of what we know as the American flag. On this day in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson established June 14th as Flag Day, and our own Harry Truman in 1949 signed an act of Congress not requiring a presidential proclamation anymore. It's just every year it's going to be Flag Day on June 14th. And by the way, it's President Donald Trump's birthday as well. So we're gathered here today on a day set aside to honor the flag of the United States of America. I'm humbled to be the first non-military veteran to give this keynote address. Not that I didn't try. I graduated from high school in 1981, so I'm a little younger than the Admiral. America was not that far removed from the divisive Vietnam War and the draft of young men that went with it. It was before the first Gulf War. Ronald Reagan was our president, and we were at peace. Our military was all volunteer, and believe it or not, it wasn't easy to get in. I had a knee injury in high school from football, so they were a little pickier back then. I was in the early stages of my 40-year career on the radio, not sure if I wanted that to be my career, not sure if I wanted to go to college either. I received an invitation to talk to a Marine recruiter and exploring all of my options, and with a deep appreciation of the military, I went to talk to him. The slogan of the Marines at that time, you may recall, was, "We're looking for a few good men." As kindly as he could, the recruiter let me know I was not one of the few. My family has a long, proud history of answering the call to defend this nation. My direct ancestor, Henry Carter, fought in the American Revolutionary War. As we just celebrated the 75th anniversary of D-Day, I'm also reminded of my grandfather, Ray, who was in the 5th Engineers. They followed the D-Day invaders all the way to Berlin. My grandfather, David, served in the U.S. Coast Guard. My father served in the U.S. Army, as did an uncle. Another uncle served in the U.S. Navy. My stepfather served in the U.S. Air Force. While I didn't directly serve in the military, I've tried to use my career in radio to stand for America. You may ask why I hold our military in such high regard. I remember as a child seeing returning vets from the Vietnam War spat upon. Maybe some of you remember that as well. I found it disgusting. Make no mistake, war is simply politics by other means. We should never criticize our soldiers for carrying out national policy. If there's criticism, it should be reserved for the politicians who send them. Our true heroes are the ones who sacrifice their lives to keep us safe and free. Beginning with the first Gulf War, I was working at a station in Indiana. My hometown's Evansville, Indiana, and we dedicated ourselves to supporting those troops who went over, including providing programming to Armed Forces Radio to bring a piece of home to the Gulf. We also did an Operation Victory concert with Lee Greenwood to raise money for families on the home front. On Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, it was a normal day on our morning show when Gary Lezak called me to tell me that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. As we watched in the KFKF studio thinking it was a terrible accident, we witnessed the second plane strike, and we knew our country was at war. A war that continues to this day. A war that will not end until the threat of terrorism is erased. The terrorists, like every enemy before, didn't know what they were getting into by picking a fight with the United States of America. They failed to understand the lesson the British were taught in the American Revolution and also in the War of 1812. The same lesson the fascists and the communists failed to learn. When you attack us, you bring us together. We unite under the banner of freedom, bringing together the most diverse population in the history of Earth. Who can forget this scene in the hours after the 9/11 attack on New York? Men, women, and children, faces covered with ash. We didn't see a racial divide. We saw Americans after an attack. For that day and the days after, we were truly united in a common cause. Democrats and Republicans joining hands on Capitol Hill, singing "God Bless America." When you attack us, you bring us together, you make us stronger. Most of my career has been spent playing country music. We call it America's music. Many of our artists are among the most patriotic Americans. The words of Lee Greenwood's "God Bless the USA," proclaiming the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Toby Keith, who reminds us in courtesy of the red, white, and blue that this big dog will fight when you rattle his cage, and you'll be sorry you messed with the US of A. My favorite is Charlie Daniels, whose "In America" reminds the world that we may have done a little bit of fighting amongst ourselves, but you outside people best leave us alone. That's from the Cowboys, the Hippies, the Rebels, and the Yanks. When he was here last month in concert, before singing that song, he talked about the strength of this country. He said it comes from two sources: the grace of Almighty God and the power of the United States military. I could not say it any better. Beginning in 2002, KFKF began setting aside the period from Flag Day through 9/11 as the Summer of Freedom. Summer of Freedom includes fun events all summer with a focus on the great things about America. We honor the men and women who keep us safe and free and continually pray that they all come home safe and soon. Summer of Freedom has raised thousands of dollars for causes ranging from Folds of Honor, the Wounded Warrior Project, and other veteran-related causes. I am happy to announce today that we are dedicating the 2019 Summer of Freedom to raising awareness of and dollars for the completion of this Korean War Memorial. To the veterans of the Korean War, sometimes called the Forgotten War, I know how special this place is to you. Some of you fought in World War II and were then asked to continue your service in Korea. In the days after World War II, much of the world, including Korea, was divided between American and Soviet influence. By 1949, Korea had competing governments, both seeking to dominate the peninsula. On June 25, 1950, forces from the Soviet-backed North invaded the American-backed South, capturing the capital of Seoul. The Cold War between the U.S. and Soviet Union instantly became a hot war. For the first time in its young life, the United Nations would be called into action. With American troops at the forefront, the battle was joined in the First Battle of Osan on July 5, 1950. American forces would battle the North Koreans and their Chinese and Soviet sponsors in the air, on the ground, and at sea, in battles at Incheon, the Imjin River, the Bloody Ridge, and the Chosin Reservoir. Conditions were horrible, with many Americans freezing to death before they could even get into battle. Nearly 2 million Americans served in the Korean theater from 1950 through 1953. Over 36,000 were killed. Nearly 8,000 American soldiers are still unaccounted for. In the end, a ceasefire ended the fighting, and the two countries were and remain divided at the 38th parallel, still in a state of war. Recent talks between Washington and Pyongyang have seen little progress in the North's desire to possess nuclear weapons. Crippling sanctions have not yet persuaded the North to join the family of nations in peace and commerce. Clearly, there is still much to do in that part of the world. Deborah talked about him. I met him as well this week, a remarkable man who brought the Korean War to life for me and made me better appreciate what I was born with as an American. Mr. Young Kim is with us today. If you only know his American story, you would see a retired, successful businessman who raised successful children who live in close proximity to him in Leawood. You might not know that as a 12-year-old, he was living in his home country of South Korea when the North attacked. He hid with his family under the floorboards of their home as North Korean soldiers searched house to house. Those soldiers wreaked havoc and killed countless South Koreans. Mr. Kim will tell you that the ray of hope they saw was the counterattacking Americans. He described seeing the American flag and feeling like it might just work out. When I asked him how dissent, something hardwired into Americans as a right, was handled by the North Koreans, he chuckled and he said, "Not very well." I think that's a vast understatement. We're honored to have Young Kim here today as part of this ceremony. If all you know about the Korean War is what you saw on the TV show MASH, it's well worth your while to do some research on America's first police action. To the veterans here today from the Korean conflict, welcome home and thank you from a grateful nation. The subject today is what the flag means to me. It's no accident that the traditional start of Summer of Freedom on KFKF is Flag Day. That flag of 13 alternating red and white stripes with a field of blue with 50 stars separates this country from the rest of the world. While there are countries, including North Korea, that fight to keep their people imprisoned, we're the country many will do anything to get into. We are the Statue of Liberty. We're a country of diverse immigrants who lead the world in progress. We are, as Ronald Reagan aptly proclaimed, a shining city on the hill. And on that hill is an American flag. Quick history lesson, our flag has 13 permanent stripes to represent those 13 colonies who met in Philadelphia in the summer of 1776 because they had a better idea. They believed ordinary citizens could govern themselves without a king. They shocked the world by proclaiming their independence from Great Britain. Many of them would fight and die for that better idea. Without the 13 original colonies, there would be no United States of America. That's why we honor them with the 13 stripes. The field of blue includes a star for every state in the Union. And that field of blue is not permanent. In fact, the current design is the 27th version of the flag of the United States. For 47 years, including the Korean War, the 48-star version was our flag. There was, believe it or not, a brief period where we had a 49-star flag. I'm not quite sure what that looked like. And then with Hawaii's elevation to statehood, we had the current 50-star flag. Its 59-year run makes it the longest-running version of our flag, but again, it's not permanent. There are territories like Puerto Rico where future statehood is a real possibility. Our flag is like our Constitution, steeped in tradition, but open to change. Our flexibility with core principles is our strength. At our core, we are self-governed with 3 co-equal branches of government. The American system does not allow nor tolerate a dictator. We're free to follow our passions as far as our talent will take us. We're free to criticize our government. Change in this country comes at a ballot box, not at the end of a rifle. Some use words like jingoism to define our love of this country and xenophobia to explain why we don't want to open the floodgates and let anyone and everyone in. I prefer to think that America is the best example of liberty and freedom in the history of the world, and it ought to be tough to get in. Those of us whose families followed the rules and emigrated to this country are the fortunate ones. I tell people that I won the country lottery by being born here. My mother's family came to this country from Germany around 1800. My father's family was among the first settlers in Virginia. Our strength is combining other cultures into our American culture. Our country is not perfect. Our bloodiest war was fought internally over the largest stain on our history. We struggle every day to become a more perfect union. We argue left and right. We protest. We vote. And in the end, we get it right. We seek not to dominate any part of the world, but to open it to freedom and self-governance. In the words of the motto of the United States Special Forces, de oppresso liber, to liberate the oppressed. So when I see the stars and stripes flying proudly, even on a rainy day, I feel a sense of pride and patriotism. It reminds me of the sacrifice of the men and women in the United States military. As we say on the radio, we are the land of the free because of the brave. Red, white, and blue, those colors don't run. When I see our flag snapping smartly in a breeze, I know I'm home. You ask me what the flag means to me, it means I'm home. Enjoy your Flag Day celebration and the Summer of Freedom on KFKF. Thank you to all of our veterans who keep us safe and free. May God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Thank you for that amazing speech. Thank you for all that you do for Kansas City and for our veterans. You're an amazing human being. We'd like to present this to you, and it's going to be great working with you this summer. God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm Bob Kalkofen, Vice Chair for the Missouri Korean War Veterans Memorial, and the son of a Marine who served during the Korean War. It is from that perspective I make my comments today. Our mission statement states to perpetuate the legacy of the Korean War veterans, present and past, and of the more than 900 Missourians killed in action who made the ultimate sacrifice and gave their lives in the defense of South Korea. Sacrifice. Earlier, Deborah talked about the sacrifice of all service personnel through all the wars, military actions, police actions, or whatever they're called at the time. Sacrifice. There are those that make sacrifices during times of war and conflict. At home, we all have to sacrifice for the war effort. Rubber, nylon, sugar, things that made life just a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable. Sacrifice. The sailor on the USS Rochester in the roiling sea, or the GI in a muddy foxhole in the dead of winter in the Chosin Reservoir, or the POW, a guest of the Hanai Hilton. Sacrifice. The sacrifice that seems to go largely unnoticed. The families of that sailor, that GI, that POW, not knowing where they are, how they're doing. Are they dead or alive? Will I be delivered a telegram today? Will I receive a phone call tonight? Or will someone in a uniform come calling tomorrow? I speak from the point of view that what it might have been like for my grandmother, my grandfather, who had 2 sons in World War II and 2 in the Korean War. My Uncle Fred served in Europe and was captured during the Battle of the Bulge. He was a POW till the end of the war. My Uncle Leon served in the U.S. Navy in World War II. My Uncle Jerry served on a minesweeper during Korea, and my Marine dad, Ura, was in logistics, making sure that everyone he was responsible for had the bullets and the beams that they needed to survive Korea. I can only imagine the anguish of all the military personnel stationed everywhere, because the next call could be, I've just been deployed. Can't tell you where I'm going. I love you all. To all the families that have endured the sacrifice, God bless you all. To all of our military personnel, I pray Godspeed and safe return to your family. At this time, we are going to retire a 48-star flag. The flag is for the more than 900 that died and laid under it, and of all the service people who served under it in Korea. Please stand if you're able for the flag retirement. Then remain standing for the flag salute and taps. Men who are not veterans should remove their hats. The flag retirement team will now please present the colors.